Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Happy Independence Day. I'm Dave Freilich with meteorologist Matt Terhune. And all in all, not bad for this time of year in this part of the country on Independence Day.
That's right. We got a great 4th of July day. We got hot temperature.
Matt, thank you very much. Local 4th of July celebrations are already underway. This was the scene a little bit earlier this morning along Shoreline. Also at Sherrill Park, local veterans held an official ceremony marking Independence Day. Many out celebrating again. Also checked out this 4th of July parade that went along Shoreline and got underway about an hour ago. Now, because of 4th of July activities, there are several road closures today. The northbound side of Shoreline is closed between Buford and Resaca. It's been closed since early this morning. That also includes Kinney Street and Park Avenue. The Burleson exit from the Harbor Bridge will close at 7 this evening, and people headed to Corpus Christi Beach from northbound lanes of Highway 181 will have to use the Beach Avenue exit. There'll be a big parade along Shoreline Boulevard, again, that got underway about an hour back. The Destination Bayfront Park is having live music and other activities. That starts about an hour from now and runs till 9 p.m. And then the big fireworks show takes place on the USS Lexington. That starts at 9:30. For a complete list of road closures and 4th of July activities throughout the day, you can check our website, kristv.com. Now, 1 in 4 fireworks injuries to the eyes does result in permanent blindness, and that's why eye doctors nationwide urge people to be careful out there today. Eye doctors and surgeons say children should never be left to play with fireworks of any type. Even sparklers can cause third-degree burns, and bottle rockets cause some of the most serious eye injuries. They say attending professional fireworks displays is always the safest way to celebrate this holiday. And if you are planning on setting off your own fireworks, they suggest standing at least 500 feet away when you ignite. And then, of course, remember that all fireworks are banned inside Corpus Christi city limits. The CCPD dive team pulled an SUV out of Packery Channel early this morning. That vehicle was discovered in the water shortly after 3 o'clock. Police say 2 men were speeding down the beach and then flew over the jetty and into the water. Now, those men weren't hurt. Police say it doesn't appear that they'd been drinking. The Department of Justice has announced it's filing a lawsuit against the Corpus Christi City over alleged discriminatory hiring practices against women at the police department. The DOJ says it wants a court to force the city to stop using its required physical ability test that it says kept women from getting hired over a 6-year span starting in 2005. It also wants the city to give those who were allegedly discriminated against a chance to become officers. The DOJ started looking into the police department's hiring practices in 2009. Early last month, city officials said they were discussing a $700,000 settlement to avoid going to court. At the time, they told us the agreement was only preliminary and that things might change. 6 News spoke to Assistant City Manager Troy Riggs, who was the police chief when the DOJ started looking into the department's hiring policies. He says the city and the DOJ officials are still negotiating a settlement, even though a lawsuit has been filed. A Corpus Christi father is grieving the loss of his son, who died in a car crash in Austin this past weekend. Let's get you up to speed. 25-year-old Ryan Whittington was in the back seat of a car that plunged into Lady Bird Lake early Sunday morning. Police officers who saw the crash pulled 2 young women out of the car, but they couldn't save Ryan, who was trapped in the back seat. That driver, Madeline Rackley, has since been charged with intoxication manslaughter. Melissa Schroeder talked with Ryan's dad last night as he reflected on a young life taken too soon. Fire investigators say they couldn't determine what caused a recent late-night fire at a senior apartment complex. The Coastal Haven Senior Complex went up in flames June 18th, destroying several units and causing $3 million in damage. Fire crews know the flames started on a second-floor balcony, and they say it was not caused by barbecuing. But they can't rule out a lit cigarette as a possible cause. People in much of the U.S. are celebrating this 4th of July in searing heat, of course. Triple-digit temperatures are expected over a wide area from Nebraska to Alabama. And in much of the mid-Atlantic, there's more misery because while the heat is on, the power is still off. NBC's Tom Costello has that story. This morning, President Obama participated in a naturalization ceremony for active duty service members. The candidates for naturalization came from all over the world, including Nigeria, Russia, China, and the Philippines. Secretary of Homeland Security Janet Napolitano delivered the oath of allegiance in the East Room of the White House. And at the conclusion of the ceremony, the president invited Lance Corporal Byron Acevedo to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. 2 remaining North Carolina Air National Guard C-130s returned to Charlotte last night. 3 planes had been sent out west to fight those wildfires out there. A small crowd waited outside for the planes to return, and along the fence, plenty of flowers in honor of the 4 crew members who died when the mission's 3rd plane crashed on Sunday while battling the White Dawn fire in South Dakota. Two of the crew's 6 members survived that crash. 30 surviving airmen and women from the 145th were reunited with their families when the planes landed in Charlotte last night. There's no word as to why the North Carolina Air Guard was sent home, and the cause of Sunday's crash remains under investigation. The 4th of July got off to a bad start for passengers on board a tour bus this morning. That bus was headed south on I-95 when it slammed into a guardrail and then hit a concrete wall in New Rochelle, New York. Authorities say the impact was so forceful it sent that bus veering across 3 lanes of the interstate. The bus driver was said to be bleeding when police got to him, but was conscious and alert. 24 passengers suffered mostly minor neck, back, and head injuries. They were taken to area hospitals. Several lanes had to be blocked off. That snarled traffic for miles, but no other vehicles were involved in the crash. The cause of the accident is under investigation. Researchers at Stanford University have studied the DNA of a fetus using only a small blood sample from its mother. All pregnant women have their baby's cells circulating in their blood. In this new study, researchers isolated cells containing fetal DNA from a blood sample given by the mother, and they were able to find rare genetic diseases not able to be identified before. They also didn't need a DNA sample from the father to get the results. Experts are excited this new test will eliminate the need for invasive genetic testing like an amniocentesis. So far, 2 pregnant women have undergone the test. If verified in larger trials, experts say the test could help doctors treat genetic diseases before or shortly after a baby is born.
Chances of rain start going up a little on Sunday and more, it looks like, on Monday and Tuesday as the next low, upper level low, comes across us.
We like nice and clear tonight. It's going to be a good show.
Looks fantastic.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Well, U.S. troops serving in Afghanistan marked Independence Day today. General John Allen, the U.S. commander of NATO forces in Afghanistan, attended the commemoration in Kabul. After addressing troops assembled for the ceremony, a big cake decorated like an American flag was served up to celebrate the 4th of July. General Allen had a piece along with the troops. Earlier, he spoke about what the 4th of July means to Americans. The Palestinian Authority will agree to open Yasser Arafat's tomb to collect samples after allegations he was poisoned with radioactive polonium. During an interview with Al Jazeera English, Arafat's widow claimed a Swiss lab found elevated levels of the isotope in items used by the Palestinian leader in the final days of his life. She refused to agree to an autopsy after his death and didn't explain why she waited nearly 8 years to have his belongings tested. Arafat died at a military hospital outside of Paris in 2004. French doctors said he had a massive brain hemorrhage weeks after falling violently ill at his West Bank compound. Doctors and independent experts aren't sure what caused it. Israeli officials called the allegations of poisoning baseless, and they've denied foul play. Up next here on 6 News at noon, we're now less than a month away from the Summer Olympic Games. We'll have an update on the final preparations in London. Welcome back. The final preparations are being made for the London Summer Games. We're now just weeks away from the opening ceremony. NBC's Keith Miller has a preview from London. Still to come on 6 News at noon, Chuck E. Cheese is set to get a major makeover. We'll take a closer look when we return. Welcome back. Topping today's consumer news, June retail sales may post the smallest gain in years. MarketWatch.com says with consumer confidence declining in June, the month's retail sales are expected to rise at the smallest pace in 3 years' time. Final retail numbers are due out tomorrow. June sales are expected to rise just 0.5%, but experts say this could push retailers to offer aggressive pricing during the back-to-school shopping season coming up. Chuck E. Cheese is retiring its giant rodents image and the man who voiced its characters for nearly 20 years. The company says it will launch a new ad campaign tomorrow, showing off a new image of Chuck E. Cheese as a hip electric guitar-playing rock star. The company is trying to revive sales at more than 500 pizza restaurants across the nation after revenue fell 4% in the first quarter of this year. And outdoors outfitter LL Bean is kicking off its 100th anniversary celebration today. LL Bean sponsoring its 35th annual 10K road race in Freeport, Maine, where the company's based. The company got its start in 1912 when LL Bean himself got the state's list of people with out-of-state hunting licenses and sent mailings promoting his rubber-soled hunting boot. We'll be right back with a look at some of the stories we're working on here at 6 News.
Next week, as an area of low pressure comes across South Texas.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. Thank you for watching, everybody. Be careful out there today. Remember the mannequins. Next news comes your way at 5 o'clock. We'll see you later. Good afternoon, everybody. We begin with some new information in the murder of 16-year-old Jenna Hernandez. The arrest affidavit for 18-year-old Lawrence Morales states police believe he shot Hernandez at least 2 days before her body was found on Stedman Island in Aransas Pass. Hernandez was last seen by her family on June 26 when she left home to use her cell phone. According to the affidavit, her mother told police She was texting Meneses and said she'd be back shortly. 2 days later, her family reported her missing. The next day, police went to interview Meneses at his home. The affidavit states he ran out the back door of his house and into the backyard where 2 pit bulls were being kept. Roughly an hour later, a fisherman on Stedman Island reported finding a girl's body. Police say Hernandez had been shot 1 time. According to police, Meneses told investigators he never met with Hernandez on the night she was last seen and claimed he was in Rockport all night long. But the affidavit states there was a witness in the case who told authorities Meneses confessed to shooting Hernandez. That witness claims Meneses said he was drunk and under the influence of Xanax at the time of the shooting. He's being held on $1 million bond. We'll have much more on this story coming up tonight at 5 and 6. We also have a developing story from NAS Corpus Christi where security has been tightened because of an incident at the Flower Bluff entrance. According to a spokesman for the base, someone tried to enter the base without authorization, and that prompted Navy security personnel to raise the security gate and close the entrance. An elderly woman who was about to enter the base crashed into the gate. She was taken to the local hospital to be checked out. The person who originally tried to enter the base is being questioned right now. One man was arrested early this morning after hitting a parked car and sending it into a nearby home. Police say just after 5 this morning, 34-year-old Greg Lewis was driving on the 4100 block of Pernitas Creek when he hit a parked car and knocked that car into a house on Turkey Creek Drive. There was some extensive damage done to the dining room area of the house. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Lewis was arrested and charged with driving while intoxicated. There's new information on the shootings of 2 young women last month at a Portland park. Police have now released a sketch of the suspect, and Mike Manzoni has that story. And here's one more look at that suspect. If you recognize the man in the sketch or you know anything about what happened, you're asked to please call Portland Police at the number on the screen, 361-777-4444. And remember, you can remain anonymous when you call. This morning, a Florida judge ruled George Zimmerman can be released from jail on a $1 million bond while he awaits trial on second-degree murder charges for the killing of Trayvon Martin. The judge had revoked Zimmerman's $150,000 bond last month after prosecutors told the judge Zimmerman and his wife misled the court about how much money they had during an April bond hearing. Prosecutors said a website Zimmerman created for his legal defense had raised about $135,000 at the time of that first bond hearing. Zimmerman and his wife didn't mention that money. And Shelley Zimmerman even said the couple had limited resources because she was a student and he wasn't working. 3 people are dead. 24 others had to be rescued after a yacht capsized in the waters off of Long Island yesterday. According to authorities, the bodies of 3 children, aged 12, 11, and 8, were recovered from the cabin of that boat during an overnight search. Officials say private boat owners worked to pull people into their boats after that yacht capsized in Oyster Bay. They worked until authorities arrived on the scene. Police say not all of the passengers were wearing life jackets. Anyone under the age of 12 is required to wear that life jacket unless they're inside the cabin. And that's where all those victims were found.